Nino at the moment. But, and the orange, the emerging El Nino, my organic part of ENSO, but the other half of it.
The Africa Climate Summit will have two high-level sessions on climate change and security. One will be at the ministerial level, and the other will be at the presidential level. I think many of you may be familiar from the data at the website on what the Africa Climate Summit seeks to achieve, and therefore I will not go through all of them. Of course, one is that there'll be an African Leaders Nairobi Declaration. There'll be a pathway towards unlocking new financial deals at scale, and that will be fit for purpose for African countries. There'll be investment commitments from various deal rooms. There'll be announcements on tangible progress, and of course, the Africa Climate Summit hopes to achieve a roadmap of implementation of the key declarations and announcements. I think those are the 7 work streams for the Africa Climate Summit. There is the energy transition, renewable energy, there's green minerals, manufacturing, there's sustainable agriculture, land and water, ocean, there's sustainable infrastructure and urbanization, and then there is natural capital. And 2 cross-cutting themes, adaptation and resilience to climate risk. And I think this is where climate change and security comes in. And then there'll be the question of climate finance and carbon credits. I think in terms of climate change and security, I did mention that we'll have 2 sessions. One is on the question of thinking about climate change as being the problem that is with us today. We can't wait to say about it being a problem of tomorrow. Of course, we know that climate change is causing a lot of distortions in our public expenditure. It is undermining the capacity of states to produce and to provide certain public services. We know how it is undermining our planet. Of course, endangering human security, and I will not go into all that detail. I think the previous speakers have elaborated a lot around how to link climate change to security issues. In terms of the 2 high-level political panels that we propose, one is between IGAD, African Union, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it will be a high-level ministerial dialogue on climate and security. We are trying to look at resilience, fragility, and displacement in the borderlands of the Horn of Africa. Objective is to explore the opportunities for regional cooperation in the borderlands that promote climate resilience, stability, and economic development. The other one is to advocate for increased access to climate finance, for adaptation and mitigation in the borderlands of the Horn of Africa. I think the high-level presidential panel is designed to explore climate change and security nexus in Africa. One, we want to provide a high-level political forum for dialogue amongst decision makers and stakeholders to coordinate and confront climate change and its impacts on peace and security. Assess available solutions across the climate finance, peace and development spectrum to address short-term and long-term security risks of climate change. Discuss key actions needed to accelerate climate action and finance in areas affected by intersecting climate, peace and security risks, and assess environmental and climate disasters as a source of tensions and conflicts that impact human security, incorporating the gender dimensions, and then try to focus on how it impacts the most marginalized, the most vulnerable, including women and children.
As ICPAC, as we mark 25 years of existence, there are a few things that we are thinking. We know that climate services support decision making, either for individuals and organizations, and a framework for weather, water, and climate services is a kind of institutional platform that can help to coordinate, facilitate, and strengthen collaboration among the key stakeholders and institutions, either to improve co-production or tailoring delivery and use of science-based climate prediction and services, and focusing on 5 pillars of global framework for weather and climate services. I'll be sharing a diagram so that you can see them. So there is merits of establishing a framework for weather, water and climate services because it ensures efficient and effective delivery of the services. As IGPAC, we mark 25 years. We have been asking ourselves several questions because an organization has to interrogate itself from 25 years up to this minute. What have we been doing and what can we do better as we chant in the other remaining years ahead of us? So first thing, we have realized that there is a missing link between global framework for weather, water and climate services and the national framework for weather and climate services. At the global, we have something. At the national, countries in the region are working on it, but there is no framework that can link either national and global level. And that is why we need to have a regional one. And as IGPAC, through CLIMSA project, we want to establish one as a pilot for other regions. So then sometimes IGPAC has two hats. One hat is a specialized institution of IGAD, and the other one is at WMRCC, a regional climate center. And as an RCC, it has both mandatory and highly recommended functions. And usually it supports 11 national MET within the region, either in the forecasting, data, research, collaboration, and other issues. And it becomes so hard if you don't have a very clear framework that can engage between now the RCC and these national MET services within the region. So it will help, that kind of framework will really help us so much for us to work together with the national MET within the region. My brother Philip and George have just been here. They have said that we can promote trade. You see, adaptation in one region can lead to other benefits to other countries in the region. You find that our sectors within the region are so much linked. Like my brother yesterday, Willis, was just giving a presentation on energy production, hydropower. And he mentioned that Kenya is getting around 6 megawatts from Ethiopia. And we have a line also, one line that connects to Uganda, and I think the Tanzania line is also connected. And if you just look at the focus, you find that the performance of the season is not uniform in all these particular countries. Say that if we have a country that is benefiting in terms of maybe good rain or heavy rain, it can generate more power, and sometimes you don't have to store this power. If we work together as a region, we can look at the benefits and opportunities that are accompanying the season to generate power, and it can be shared along the region. So we can use it positively. If you go to water resources management, our basins are interconnected. And if you are planning river flows or you want irrigation, it's better to have a framework that coordinates all these kind of basins. You need to talk each other. So it's a key thing. Then there is also climate security that is coming. If you look at our IGAD region, we have what we call 8 clusters, cross-border regions. And some of our people Like he mentioned something in Karamoja. We call it IGAD Cluster 1. It connects 4 countries. That is Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan, and Uganda. And some of those, but they speak the same language, Ateker language. And because of adaptation to climate-related impacts, they move from one country to the other country. They don't know that it's Kenya or Ethiopia and whatever. If we can address the needs of these people, cross-border regions, a framework, we need a framework. You need to have at least countries that are touching that particular cluster and the regional, now the IGAD institutions to come in so that you address things uniformly in a better way. Then there is also issue of institutionalization of climate services. So far we have been dealing with different projects. You remember WISA 1, WISA 2, Confer, now Down to Earth. These are, all of them are just, and Skipia, they are talking about climate, supporting climate services. We need to move from project-based kind of climate services to institutionalized climate services. Can we institutional climate services within the region, regional economic community, like now IGAD or SADC? That is what we are thinking.
Ours is to provide that warning so that the users can prepare. And if you look at what we are doing, the way we are doing things now and the way we did them 10 years ago, there's some slight difference. Because if you look around, you'll find we have invited users of the information. So, my friend, why can't you go and talk to the energy person, then go to the farmer, then go to the other user who use the kind of information that we are releasing and ask them, now that you have had this, how are you going to use this information? Yeah? That said, we still give advisories in the statement that I will give, and more so the national one, which is going to be, which date, Anna?
Next week, 28th to 30th.
28th to 30th, we'll have some other lower level conference, after which I will issue a statement for the national, and in that one I will also address users at various levels or categories, if you like. Yeah.
We coordinate a platform on monitoring transboundary pests. This is in the early warning component, because as an institution that looks at climatic extremes, pest invasions are among the sort of the extremities driven by climate change. And as an institution, we've been coordinating a platform where we bring the countries together and we monitor pest situations. We provide tools on GPS, tools on mobile devices that they collect pest information, and we integrate that with satellite information. We model that data to come up with predictions on where pests are moving to. For example, there's been quelea birds in Kenya, and probably you could have seen stories on the impact of quelea birds. So they are among the pests that we are monitoring, transboundary pests or migratory pests. There are also desert locusts that we monitor. From the last invasion, we set up a monitoring team where we have an early warning team. We look at how the pests are migrating in the region, from Yemen, from Saudi Arabia, from Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti, and now Ethiopia. And with such, we develop early warning information. For example, for Kenya, we already seeing a situation whereby, due to a limit in control in Ethiopia, in parts of Somalia, in parts of Yemen, due to conflict and the likes, we might have locusts coming in more numbers. And due to the El Nino, we're also seeing increased rainfall and also increased temperatures. That means locusts are very likely to multiply in big swarms. And in so doing, we start preparing with the Desert Locust Control Organization, with the Ministry of Agriculture. We are in the network together. They know when the pests will be coming in, and they begin to look for the pesticides on time, management practices on time, aircrafts on time, maintaining airstrips on time. So those are some of the actions that are being done as early warning and early action from the network.